Hi dears, today I'm going to talk about Laura Mulvey and her essay Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. Laura Mulvey, a British feminist and film theorist. She worked at the British Film Institute, and Mulvey is an avant-garde filmmaker in the 70s and 80s with her husband, Peter Wollen. The most influential of Mulvey and Wollen's collaborative film is Riddles of the Sphinx. They presented avant-garde film as a space in which female experience could be expressed. And Mulvey is best known for her essay Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, written in 1973 and published in 1975. The essay was published in the influential film theory journal The Screen. Mulvey was influenced by the psychoanalytic theories of Sigmund Freud and Jacques Lacan. Freud's theory of castration anxiety and Lacan's concept of mirror stage and ego formation is utilized in this essay. And visual pleasure and narrative cinema popularized the term male gaze. And the term male gaze was first used by the critic John Berger in his series of film Ways of Seeing. Mulvey's contribution inaugurated the intersection of film theory, psychoanalysis, and feminism. And Mulvey used psychoanalytic theory as a political weapon to demonstrate how the patriarchal subconscious of society shapes our film watching experience and cinema itself. Her main argument is that the Hollywood film narrative used women in order to provide a pleasurable visual experience for men. The narrative film structures its gaze as masculine or male gaze, and woman is always the object of gaze. Who introduced the concept scopophilia? Sigmund Freud in his 3 essays on the theory of sexuality, and Mulvey employed this term in her essay. Mulvey says cinema offers a number of possible pleasures and scopophilia is an erotic form in looking. And which are the 2 stages in which scopophilia takes place? The first is instinctual, which means sexual instinct. The instinct to look at another person as an object of sexual stimulation. Next stage is the narcissistic. It is related to the process of identification and ego formation of an individual. The self-love comes from the identification with the image on the screen. The theater, the darkness in the auditorium, the brilliant shifting pattern of the light shade creates or activates the voyeuristic fantasy of the spectator. As a result, the spectator is free to project his repressed desires or psychic obsessions onto the image on the screen. And here, Mulvey's focus is on the mirror stage of Lacan's theory. Lacan has described the moment when a child recognizes its own image in the mirror is crucial for the constitution of his ego formation. The child is fascinated by its human form, the face, the body, and its relationship with surrounding. And it is important because the child gazes at its own image reflected in the mirror. So the mirror stage is very important in child's development. And according to Lacan, child is thrilled to see his reflection in the mirror. Like the child in front of the mirror, the spectator also fascinated by the images on the screen. And child's fascination with the human form in the mirror, whereas the spectator is fascinated with the human form on the screen. And Mulvey uses this Lacanian idea to demonstrate how cinema helps to produce certain ideological beliefs about women. The first stage of scopophilia is sexual instinct, and next is related to ego libido. In the third part of the essay, Mulvey discusses how a woman is projected in the cinema. Women projected as sexual objects, a common theme in movie, and it evokes visual and erotic impact so that they can be connoted as to be looked atness. And here Mulvey seems to be influenced by the art critic John Berger's film series Ways of Seeing. And who is the object of erotic male gaze? A woman is the object of erotic male gaze. Man is a subject of action, whereas woman is an erotic object. She implies that gaze is always male, and according to Mulvey, the male controls the film fantasy. The male protagonist is projecting in the film, and the spectator projects the mirror image in the power of male protagonist. The spectator believes that the male character in the story makes things happen and controls everything, and the male hero as the ideal hero. Mulvey argues the male unconscious has two ways to escape from the castration effect. Which are they? The first one is sadistic voyeurism. Here, men want to have a control over women by devaluing or punishing the guilty woman, or investigating about women or solving her mystery. The second one is fetishistic scopophilia. The male fetishizes the figure of a woman, and it is also a form of sexual behavior in which a man overvalues certain body parts of woman, costumes, molds on the body, etc. By fetishizing women, man thinks that he can tame or can have a control over women. And Mulvey analyzed the works of Alfred Hitchcock and Joseph Sternberg. And according to Mulvey, Sternberg emphasized the beauty of women and body parts are projected in close-ups in order to produce coprophilistic voyeurism for the spectator. And there are three kinds of male gaze. The first one is the look of the camera. The next is the gaze of men within the film narrative. And the third one is the gaze of the male spectator. And Mulvey concludes this essay by emphasizing the need to destroy the erotic pleasure as a political weapon to challenge the objectification of women in narrative cinema. And the spectator should see how film has objectified the image of women as an object of visual pleasure. And Mulvey addresses these issues in her later article, Afterthoughts on Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, inspired by King Vidor's Duel in the Sun. And here ends our today's video. Thank you.